Let's get it on. Forget the loss, the money. We're in this together and through it all. They said that nothing's forever, and they refuse to see the change in me. Why won't they wake up?
What up? It's your boy T-Ray, the reaction. Today is Wrestling Wednesday. About to get in a couple more Wrestling Wednesday videos involving stuff that happened due to some bad situations, right? It was a punishment, etc. That being said, we're going to take a look at 10 gimmicks that were given as punishment. You know, sometimes some of the gimmicks that is either worse or do not work or silly, 9 times crazy in a crazy way are given as punishments, not because the wrestler himself wanted it, man. It's given as a punishment. So that being said, we're gonna check out some of these, see what some of these gimmicks that was given as punishments to WWE wrestlers. So without further ado, let's get it.
10 WWE gimmicks that were given as a punishment. Number 10, Dusty Rhodes. A WWE signing Dusty Rhodes in the late 80s was a huge deal. Rhodes was without a doubt one of the biggest names in pro wrestling, and he was a household name that would have reignited the main event scene in WWE. And it was Vince McMahon who decided to assign Rhodes the gimmick of the common man who would wear cartoonish black and yellow polka dots. This was a baffling move, and it was theorized by fans as well as other wrestling personalities that McMahon didn't care that he had a name like Rhodes on his roster. All he wanted to do was humiliate him. According to Jim Ross on his podcast, he firmly believes that the gimmick was a rib. I think it was a rib. I have a hard time being able to defend that it wasn't. And I think Dusty was a key player with the competition, and without calling out the competition, without doing any billionaire Ted skits as we saw later on, I think it was a subtle way to throw a little shade on Dusty because he was a top babyface, the booker, and the owner's right-hand man. This backwards booking was highly detrimental to Rhodes' success in WWE, and it was yet another example of McMahon putting his own malicious motives at the forefront. Number 9, Perry Saturn. No point going off on jobber Mike Bell during the WWE Jack match in 2000, WWE decided to punish Perry Saturn by giving him an embarrassing gimmick. This gimmick was likely designed not to just humiliate the former European champion, but to also make Saturn an afterthought in the eyes of the fans. Following receiving head trauma during the match with the APA, Saturn began to act incredibly different.
I'm trying to figure out what my thing is
become more eccentric, and he'd fall in love with a mop known as Moppy. Whilst it sounds totally ridiculous, it somehow managed to get Saturn over, as the fans loved how ridiculous the whole character was. Whilst intended to fail due to the positive fan reception,
alright, okay, pause please, hopefully.
He'd become more eccentric, and he'd fall in love with a mop known as Moppy. Whilst it sounds totally ridiculous, it somehow managed to get Saturn over, as the fans loved how ridiculous the whole character was. Whilst intended to fail due to the positive fan reception, WWE had no choice but to give Saturn a mini push, and he even received a pay-per-view match at the 2001 Unforgiven pay-per-view against Raven. Number 8, R-Truth. R-Truth is prone to excelling in any gimmick WWE gives him, and in 2011, when R-Truth decided to smoke during an episode of Raw in the UK, Vince McMahon decided to give him a new gimmick that would act as a punishment. The new gimmick would see R-Truth having an imaginary friend known as Little Jimmy. In typical Truth fashion, although the gimmick was designed to flop and humiliate him, it did the
I was trying to pause because one of my videos was all choppy. Give me a second. I'm bad. I'll show you one of my video was getting a little choppy. Maybe I'm gonna change the take it off of auto for a minute and put it on a steady one real quick. Anyway, well, wow, that's crazy that Perry that was a punishment as well too, but it got him over, but still. And R-Truth smoking got him in trouble. Yeah, I remember seeing him do that smoking on TV. That was wild right there. I know they wanted to make him a heel, but that was wild as well though. Anyway, let's get it.
Complete opposite. Truth made it work, and it managed to enhance his already riveting heel persona. This was simply a testament to Truth's abilities, and there's a reason that Truth has been cemented in the main role on TV since 2008. Number 7, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
boy.
WrestleMania 3 saw
definitely
Ricky
explain a lot
Steamboat
right here.
steal the show alongside Randy Savage. Yet despite Steamboat walking out of the match as new Intercontinental Champion, his reign would be short-lived. Steamboat would ask for time off to be with his newborn child, and in typical Vince McMahon fashion, he held this against Steamboat for the rest of his career. McMahon wanted the Intercontinental Champion that could tour, so he decided to have him drop the title to the Honky Tonk Man. When Steamboat returned,
I'm also wondering that's why, the injury happened as well to Rishi. Why Rishi didn't get a good push to get after his injury.
and he was treated much differently by McMahon, and when he had another run in the company in 1991, he was simply referred to as the Dragon, and WWE would bizarrely act as if the Dragon was this new character that fans had never seen before. The Dragon gimmick was without a doubt a direct punishment, although WWE executives such as Bruce Pritchard like to claim that the gimmick was designed to reintroduce the fans to Steamboat. This is clearly utter nonsense. A guy like Ricky Steamboat didn't need a gimmick like this. Number 6, Piggy James. Revolving a wrestling character around their weight is never a good idea, and in 2009, WWE came up with the insane idea of branding Mickie James as Piggy James.
Wow.
The angle featured the villainous duo of Lay Cool poking fun at James's weight, and despite the fan reception to the angle being extremely low, WWE persisted with the angle for months. It's widely believed that the character acted as a direct punishment for James and John Cena's relationship coming to an end, and this was just incredibly petty behavior from WWE management. According to James during an interview on the Ring the Bella podcast, the storyline was an extremely hard storyline to deliver. It was hard at the moment, and I think it was hard for everyone in order to do it. There would be times like, oh, I think this might be a little too far, but I will say the end goal was to get Michelle and Layla over as monster heels, and as big heels, and I think I was very successful in that retrospect. I think that for that generation of people, especially now with speaking out and anti-bullying, it's given people the power of their voice because words are so powerful. Extra criticism was directed towards WWE as they were running the BA Star anti-bullying campaign at the time, and it was seen by many as total hypocrisy. Number 5, D'Lo Brown. D'Lo Brown was one of the most underrated stars of the Attitude Era.
I got an idea what might be he got punished for it though, which just sucks. It was unfortunate, but still.
Yet as the era went on, he was moved dramatically down the card. By mid-2000, WWE had no interest in featuring Brown in major roles on TV, and despite this, they decided to give Brown a new gimmick which completely annihilated his credibility, and the gimmick was so atrocious that it destroyed any chance that Brown had to move back up the card. That gimmick in question would see Brown join forces with Chaz in a tag team known as Lowdown. The tag team was the definition of mid, and they even had Tiger Ali Singh join in the team to become their manager. The tag team would come down in a Punjabi-like attire and Sikh turbans, and the motives behind Brown's gimmick change were never really fully explored on television. Unfortunately, Brown classes the gimmick as the lowest point of his career, which is completely understandable. Number 4, Shelton Benjamin. In late 2005,
I thought the punishment was because of what happened with him and Darren Drozdov. If you know, you know. Wow. Which was unfortunate, and RIP to Darren Drozdov too, man. I'm saying.
A report surfaced online that Shelton Benjamin had backstage heat. An extract from the initial 2005 report from WrestleZone reads, one source within WWE says that Shelton Benjamin's string of losses over the past few months was punishment for behavior directed at a veteran road agent. The Torch newsletter described the behavior as a blatant negative and disrespectful attitude shown toward at least one veteran road agent. In a move that clearly wasn't a coincidence, just a matter of weeks after this report surfaced, Benjamin was giving a new gimmick where his mama would become an on-air character. This gimmick was comedic in nature, and it didn't exactly make Benjamin look great during the early stages. And in a weird twist of fate, the gimmick managed to get over as Benjamin and the Mama character connected to the fans, and it actually managed to enhance the matches of Benjamin, as there was now no more sports entertainment elements to his presentation. Benjamin would even receive a substantial push with the gimmick, which culminated him in winning the Intercontinental title from Ric Flair on Raw in early 2006. Number 3, Mark Henry. Now over the years, there have been endless gimmicks that have been placed on TV to make Vince McMahon laugh. This was no doubt the case when Mark Henry debuted his sexual chocolate persona in 1999. According to Henry, McMahon found the gimmick.
The reason I said, oh God, I thought he was about to do. I thought he was talking about that one that was part of his gimmick where he had a little entertainment with a very interesting type of person.
Gimmick utterly hilarious, and on paper, the gimmick should have flopped, but Henry put his life and soul into the character. The gimmick was outlandish in nature, and it went beyond Henry being a ladies' man, as he would start a romance with Mae Young, and the two would even have a baby hand together. Now, there have been prominent rumors for years that WWE would often give Henry gimmicks with the intention of making him quit. However, this evidently didn't work.
Oh,
It's
didn't
worth
it?
noting that Henry, as well as top WWE names, have denied that this was the WWE's intention, but it's an interesting rumor to say the very least.
You ain't
Number
heard.
2, Brodus Clay.
Oh,
But
yeah.
during vignettes promoting
Yeah.
Brodus Clay's return to television, it seemed like Clay was going to be given a monster push with his serious,
No, it
legitimate
wasn't.
character. However, when Clay debuted on TV with a dancing gimmick, fans were collectively speechless.
Yeah.
Clay would now be known as the Funkasaurus, and this character descended from Planet Funk on a mission to move booties and mash bodies. Now, the issue with the gimmick was that it had a short shelf life. Dancing gimmicks can only get wrestlers so far, and this was the case here. With that being said, WWE committed a ton of resources to the character, and they even gave the Planet Funk resident a big segment at WrestleMania 28. Now, speaking to Robbie E., the former WWE star stated that Triple H wanted him to be the next big top heel in WWE, but it was McMahon who wanted him to be a comedic character. Triple H had me ready to be his next big heel.
Typical McMahon, as always.
He had no desire to do the Funkasaurus thing. The old man Vince McMahon thought I was funny, and somehow being funny in the locker room equates to dancing in the ring. Was I disappointed? I knew Funkasaurus wasn't winning the world championship. He had no desire to do the Funkasaurus thing. The old man Vince McMahon thought I was funny, and somehow being funny in the locker room equates to dancing in the ring. Was I disappointed? I knew Funkasaurus wasn't winning the world championship, but I knew Brodus Clay could have. I knew that my role wasn't going to be the guy that got the party started or kept him in the seats like Junkyard Dog or even Dusty Rhodes himself, which he claimed I was being punished for his sins. It was always one of my favorite lines, because you're mine, you're being punished for my sins. And the gimmick would last around 15 months before it began to get stale, and WWE were forced to abandon the gimmick and go in a completely different direction with him. And number 1, Diamond Dallas Page. When WWE brought in DDP in
Not surprised.
2001, the belief of the fans was that DDP would be delivering a WWE version of his widely celebrated WCW persona. DDP was insanely over with the WCW fans, and it would have easily been a top babyface in WWE if they
Indeed.
allowed him to portray a similar version to the character that was present on WCW television. Unfortunately, WWE had other ideas, as they decided to debut DDP as a villainous stalker. You begin to stalk The Undertaker's wife, and this gimmick was destined to crash and burn, as nobody wanted to see DDP in such a sinister and chilling role. Could this gimmick have worked if it had been a different wrestler? Well, possibly, but the nature of the gimmick is hard to develop, as it's basically a dead-end character that's hard to recover from. DDP struggled
At least we got DDT yoga out of this nonsense.
greatly when the feud with The Undertaker came to an end, and his subsequent gimmick struggled to take off, as his stock had dropped to such an all-time low that the fans now saw him as a lower card talent. According to DDP during an interview with Inside the Ropes, accepting the gimmick was both the worst and best thing he ever did in his career. When I tell you it was the worst decision I made and the best decision I ever made in my life, I don't say anything. What I should have said was, it's a great idea for someone else. When you want to do the People's Champion versus the People's Champion, call me. If I walk out there, get in an elevator, I'm not going to make it to the airport. You would have called me back and brought me right back in. I didn't do that. Why is this the best decision? Why was it the best decision? It made me a much smarter businessman. Whilst the gimmick was indeed atrocious, it ultimately didn't hinder DDP's legacy, as the majority of fans were able to see that the gimmick was down to a bad creative direction rather than the efforts of DDP himself. But there you have it, folks. 10 WWE
Yeah.
gimmicks that were
So,
given
yeah,
as
sorry
a
for the video
punishment.
chopping
Be sure
up
to leave
here
your
and
comments
there,
down
but
below.
yeah, it's crazy. Not surprised that I ain't maybe happy to start. Not surprised that some of this shit was done because of either bad punishment indeed or Vince being offense. That's all I'm gonna say. But other than that, if you like my reaction, like, share, subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's your boy T-Bird signing off. One love.